Some people do construction projects and you're not really sure where to start or what kind of questions to ask when you meet with a contractor, so we're going to give you a few that might help you out.
One thing you want to ask is, what is their background and how many years experience do they have? We had someone who had called us and they had hired someone to start their addition, and it was probably the best word to describe it is a nightmare. And as we were talking to the client, the person that they hired was actually a handyman and didn't really do additions, which explained why the project looked the way it looked. So you want to make sure that the type of project that you're hiring for is a fit with the contractor that you're talking to.
One thing that Susan and I like to do is bring people through some current projects that we're working on or past projects. You want to hire someone, you're going to pay them a lot of money to build this whole thing out, and very difficult to do it just off of pictures and video. You really want to walk through a space, see how it feels to you, touch it, see it. It makes you feel more comfortable with the contractor, and the contractor will feel more comfortable with what their capabilities are.
This seems like an obvious question, but you want to make sure that you ask if the contractor is licensed and make sure that you check their license. We have seen instances where people are asking homeowners to pull permits because they're not licensed or there are other issues. So you want to make sure that you verify their license before you hire someone.
One responsibility of the contractor is to make sure that they pull the permits. And when they pull the permits, they have to show proper licensing and proper insurance certificates. So if a contractor is asking you to pull the permit, it might be a red flag you want to look into before you hire them.
Another question you want to ask is, are you insured? Again, it sounds like a simple question. You assume everyone has insurance, but you want to make sure that they have the right kind of insurance. Sometimes when you're building a new property, you as the homeowner have to have a different type of insurance policy to protect the property, and then the contractor has their own policy. So if there's ever any question about what type of insurance you should have, that's a conversation that you should get into to make sure that you're properly covered.
Will you have subcontractors? The answer you want is typically yes, because the guy that paints every day or the girl that paints every day is better than the person that doesn't. It's easy for one guy to do everything, but a lot of times they're not good at everything. So you really want specialists. You want the person that paints, you want the person that frames, you want the person that does finished work, because when they do it every day, they're much more efficient at it, and usually the result is much better.
The other thing to remember is that typically different trades have different licensing. So if there's an electrician, they need to have their own license. Plumbers need to have their own license. If you have the same person doing plumbing and electrical and they're not separately licensed in each trade, that can lead to issues down the line with not having things properly done or properly permitted.
How do I pay my contractor? Typically, there's progress payments along the way. So there's a certain amount when you start, and then as you hit these certain points in the job, there'll be money due. And money always moves the job, just keep that in mind.
Whenever you're doing a project, you always want to ask, is there a warranty? Now, certain things like roofing shingles or appliances or cabinets, a lot of times will have their own separate manufacturer's warranty, but you also want to ask about a workmanship warranty just in case anything goes wrong or needs to be fixed.
You want to find out, do they specialize in residential or commercial? There's residential contractors and commercial contractors. So depending on what your project is, you want to make sure that you get the right contractor. So if you're doing something to your personal home, you want to make sure you got a residential contractor to take care of that for you.
We have run into clients who had an issue with an addition that they were building. They asked us for some help, and as we were talking with them, we realized that they had hired someone who actually did not work on residential projects. They worked on only commercial projects, which explained what we saw out in the field and explain the issues that they were having. So again, you want to make sure that the person that you're hiring is a good fit for the type of project that you're doing. Another thing you want to ask, not a requirement, but maybe a little bit of a plus, is do they belong to any professional organizations? Whether it is a builders association, remodelers association, anything like that where you know that they're professional in their field and they're staying up with the latest trends and codes.